Assalamu alaikum. Islam will present itself to you as a religion of peace and as a religion where there is equality. Has that truly been the case? In the recent days, we can see how so many non-Muslims and Muslim alikes in the Yoruba extractions have been calling out the Sultan hegemony over the Nigerian Muslim as a collective. The Yoruba Muslims have been saying that why has it not been provided, or why has an equal opportunity been provided for the Yoruba Muslims to ascend to the throne of the Sultan? But again, in 1970, when we checked historically, we found out that the Fulanese, using their cunning ways, have been able to infuse in the constitution of the NSCIA to ensure that only a man that is born to the family of Fulanese and a man who is from Sokoto can ever become the Sultan. Despite so many agitations from the Yorubas, the Sultan have not come out today to call out the South and the Middle Belt, asking them that it is only when we have a Yoruba or an Igbo pope, then do we have the moral standing to question his authority, and again to question his lifetime chances of becoming the Sultan. You see, when you look at how the Fulanese always operate, they come in as guests. When they come in as guests, they act decent. Their end goal is always to topple you and, of course, take away your own rights as a native. I mean, when we look at what happened in Kano State and in so many other northern states that initially belonged to the Hausas, this was how they operated. If you want to go to the issue of Ilorin, how they deposed Afonja, they came in as good visitors, as good guests. Initially, they were good neighbors, good guests. They operated and they acted in accordance with the laws of the land. But as time went by, they started getting more and more, because in Islam, it is allowed for you to have more wives than any other religion. In fact, it is backed by their Quranic laws. And these are strategic actions taken by the establishment of Islam, because they understand for you to dominate, you must be more in population. For you to dominate, you must have more children. And this has been indoctrinated, this has been institutionalized, and this has always been their strategy. If you want to leave Nigeria and let us go to the Western Europes, you'll see that they are also having similar issues. You know, initially, these Muslims, they migrated to UK, they migrated to many, like Sweden, they migrated, you know, seeking economic prosperity. When they got there, they still went with their religious fanaticism. Having worked for so many years, they started giving birth. And because according to their own religion, they can have as many wives as they can, they started bringing more women from their own homeland. And as they did that, they became more. They had more wives, more children. And today we can see that in some states in United Kingdom, like Brighton, like Bexford, you can see that there are more Muslims than Christians there. And now they have begun to see for Islamic constitution, for Islamic laws in such areas, because they feel and they know and they understand that it is when you have the population, you can control the polity, and you will find out, not be surprised, that in UK you now have many Muslim mayors who have been pushing for the Sharia constitution, for the Sharia enforcement across the UK, a country that was established, that was built on Christendom. The same thing has applied to Nigeria. And I am not surprised, because the Sultan, trying to deflect, trying to play a smart game on the Southerners, trying to confuse the Southern Muslims. Yes, because the Southern Muslims precisely the Yoruba Muslims, have been getting so many support from their fellow Yoruba Christians who have been demanding that as far as Nigeria is concerned, we're not talking about the global stage now. We're talking about Nigeria. And in Nigeria, there should be equality. When you look at the Christian Association of Nigeria, you can have a Yoruba Christian Association president. When you look at, you can have an Igbo, you can have a Middle Belter, you can even have an Hausa man becoming the Khan president. Why is that not the same for the Sultan? Why does it have to be that it is only Fulanese that can become? Why is it? Is it their ancestral right? Is it their family right? Is the Sultan of Sokoto a traditional seat? If that is the case, then can we differentiate between the President General of the NSCIA Islamic Affairs? Can we differentiate it between the Sultan and that? That has been the question in the recent time. But we can see that the Sultan and his cohorts, that they have launched a campaign, a media campaign. This might not really be done directly by the Sultan of Sokoto, but his media aides and of course his followers. When I mean followers, not just followers, I mean his chronic and his hardened followers. And when we check those people who have been running this campaign in the recent times, of course it has been youth from the northern extractions who have been doing everything to protect the seat of power of their forefathers. You will understand that the first Sultan that we ever had in Nigeria was Uthman Danfodio. And Uthman Danfodio ensured that he enshrined to protect that seat never get into the hands of the Hausa. Look at how close the Hausas are to the Fulanese. Look at how the Kanuris, how close they are to the Fulanese. But those other ethnicity have never had a chance on that seat. Only the Fulanese. If you check since 1804 that the jihadists started their conquest, it has been the Fulanese who has retained that seat of power. And then we ask, why is there no equality? As I have on my screen, you can see this is another agenda that they use, to confuse and brainwash every other tribe that wants to involve himself in leadership role in Islam. They said that there is no ethnicity in Islam, that there is no ethnic differences, that what they have is oneness, unity, equality, that what they see is brotherhood. And Islam is the only religion, it is the only ethnicity. So what they are trying to push is this. Any man, anybody that rise up to start questioning and start asking, why can't we have a Yoruba Sultan? You will be seen as a divider. You will be seen as an affront, that you are passing your boundary. That don't you understand that according to the hadiths, the tenets of Islam, we are not supposed to ever ask such questions. That according to Islam, you shouldn't be asking that why can't we also have a shot at leadership role? That you guys are best to becoming deputies. Nobody can question the authority because it has been divinely made. It has been divinely designed, orchestrated, that it is only the Fulanese that can become the authority that should sustain the Sultan seat, because they are the guardian protector that has been divinely ordained, and nobody should question it. Sometimes I just sit back and take a look at how they operate. That how come people can be, sometimes I just question the critical thinking of some Yoruba Muslims who have gotten so much in depth in this religion thing. I asked them, I said, why can't you question your leaders? I look at your name, I can see your prefix. You are a professor. You are a doctor. But again, can you not see that what is going on in Nigeria to be particular is that the Fulanis have an eternal superiority above every other ethnicity? Why have you not sat down and asked that critical questions? That if Islam tells you that there is no human superiority, that there is what we call equal opportunities, that there is level playing field, then how come the political leadership is not structured in a way whereby whether you're an Igbo man, you should be able to lead prayers in the north. Whether you are a Yoruba man, you should be able to vie for the position of the caliphacy. The governance structure that was designed was done purposefully. It was done intentionally. And these were the things that the Prophet Muhammad designed. He designed it intentionally because when they were conquering, when they invaded people's land, when they conquered them, they take away their culture and tradition. You will be enforced to start putting on what I have on here, a scarf. And then you start wearing a jalamia. Alright? Let me move back a little bit so that you can see I am fully dressed. As you can see, I have a jalamia on. Then you begin to put on this attire. They start telling you that you should not dress like a Western person. These are the total brainwashing that goes on. When you adopt all this style of dressing, you start thinking like an enslaved person, because you have now been told you must leave that culture, you must leave that tradition, you must leave your dress mode, you must leave everything that originally defines who you are. You now have to adopt the Arabian, the Mohammedan culture. When you do that, then you will now be told that now that you've adopted it, going forward, you can no longer question why in the future that you want to become a leader. That if you do that, it is an haram. That the God has created you to only be a follower. That you can only be a follower. You know, that whoever that brought this thing to you has been divinely anointed to be your leader and on infinity. So these are all machinations that Usman Danfodio adopted from the progenitors of Islam. And this is not uncommon. This is how they operate. When you go to every Muslim nations, do you want to talk about Morocco? In Morocco, it is only one family that is a king. If you go to Saudi Arabia, there's only one family that has the right to be the king. Why? Because they back it up with that religious sentiment that these were the people that brought this divine religion, and according to the religion, you cannot question their authorities. If you do, you might even lose your life. So for that reason, this is what they are trying to push in Nigeria. That if Nigeria ever slides to become a Muslim nation, if Nigeria ever gets to a point that the whole of South gets colonized and then they become Muslims, what is going to happen is the presidential system of governance will be jettisoned, and it will only be from the family of the current Sultan of Sokoto that will have the right, the latitude, the opportunity to the leadership position. So it doesn't matter if you are a Yoruba man. At best, what you can become is a priest of a mosque. At best, what you will become is that. All right? So this is why it is important that we keep to have these conversations. Because when they try to attack or to have a clap back, that why are the Christians now interfering into the Muslim conversations. These are the schemes that they always deploy to confuse the Yoruba Muslim, the non-suspecting Yoruba Muslims, and of course the Yoruba Muslims that have been brainwashed totally. That why are you listening to them? They do not understand how Islam works. When you listen to them, these are pagans, these are kafiris. You should understand that in Islam, we are all one. So it doesn't matter. It has been divinely structured. Nobody structured it that way. Okay, even if you want to be the eternal leader of the North, why shouldn't the Southwesterners have their own leader as well? So we can also have the Sultan of the Muslim Yorubas. Does it not sound good? Why should that seat, the question again, why should that seat be the right, the family right, the birthright of a Fulani man? That is my question. And thank you. If you like my attire, please kindly drop a comment in the comment section. You know, if I was a Muslim, I would be forced to dress like this. If I'm going out anywhere I am, I have to dress like this. There's no freedom of association. There's no freedom of dressing. Everything has to be done that way, like a zombie. Bye for now. Okay, so El-Rufai shouting that Norths are the real kingmakers. Let us quickly go into history and see how Obasanjo won the 2003 election. Yeah, as you can see on my screen, as you can see that from what we have here, all the way from the middle belt down to the south, southeast and southwest, Obasanjo was able to get 24 million, while Buhari scored 12.49, approximately 12.49 million. And what does that mean? This simply means that a person like Peter Obi, who in the last election did not, not really bad, can win an election in Nigeria without the El-Rufais, without the Buharists, as it were. If you take a look at that map again, you will see that all the way from Plateau to your left, Kebbi, to your right, Bauchi, down to Taraba, down to the Kogi, Ilorin, Nasarawa, then to southwest, you can see that a candidate can always come from any of that region without the so-called Fulanis, issuing words of threat that no person, no man, no individual can become a Nigerian president if they do not endorse or vote for him massively. If El-Rufai comes out and be specific that they made Tinubu the president, I don't think anybody will agree. But it is insulting for El-Rufai to sit on an high horse and thinking he's dishing out orders and threats that nobody can become a president if the Norths do not vote for him. Now, for El-Rufai's information, and this information even goes beyond El-Rufai, this goes to all the Fulani caliphates, all the Fulani oligarchs, all the Fulani political juggernauts who think they are the kingmakers in the Nigerian politics. Here is the information, and here's the breaking news. The Middle Belt is not part of the North. Yes, and that is the politics Tinubu has understood it, and he has taken it upon himself that since the likes of El-Rufai and since the likes of this Borno guy, Zulum, Shetima, because they are all working in cahoot. You can see that Shetima has been quiet. They know what they are doing. When the likes of Atiku has them as the mole in Tinubu's government, trying to ensure they hit him right from inside like a log of wood with what? With crickets. You get the point? So Tinubu has seen that if I rely on these guys, because I am not ready to do their biddings, I am not ready to be at their beck and call, because I will not watch and allow the Sultan to achieve his agenda, to Islamize, to Fulanize, and of course to Sharianize the whole of South. I am a liberal Muslim, and that is what the Yorubas have always been known for. Understandably, we have some, little Yorubas who are Muslim extremists, but they are in their minority. And we can see how the Sultan has tried to just pack up that religious divide, whereby